You research and look up the traits and characteristics of psychopathy, you'll find that you can easily match all of those traits with the traits and characteristics of the United States, the way it behaves globally, and even the way it behaves domestically against their own people. You'll find that it very closely aligns with the definitions and the characteristics and the traits and the attributes of a psychopath. And one of the key traits of a psychopath is that they feel no guilt, they have no conscience, they feel no remorse. They feel completely entitled to take advantage, to prey upon, to behave in a predatory manner towards anyone who's weaker than them, who's more gullible than them, who's more naive than them, who's more trusting than them, who's more sincere than them, who's kinder, who's gentler, who's more compassionate. They feel completely entitled to take advantage of that type of person, use them and abuse them and exploit them, and they will feel nothing about it. They will feel no kind of way about it. No guilt, no remorse, no sense of shame. Now let me explain by way of example. On September 11th, 2001, 19 individuals committed a heinous terrorist attack on the United States. Since 9/11, Muslims around the world collectively have been held responsible for that and have felt genuinely guilty about that, have felt horrified by what happened and have apologized for it, have felt guilty about it, and have tried time and time and time again to atone for the actions of these 19 individual men. And we've done the same thing every time there's any sort of terrorist attack by any individual criminal or set of criminals. Even when those attacks are primarily directed against us, we are the number one victims of terrorism by Muslim extremists. Not Westerners, not non-Muslims, not Americans, not Europeans. Muslims have died in far greater numbers, but we have gone out of our way to try to atone for the actions of those people, to disassociate ourselves from those actions, to apologize, to condemn. I mean, whenever there's a terrorist attack, Muslims around the world fall all over each other trying to get to a microphone to explain how much we condemn it, to explain how this is unrepresentative of Islam, how these people are not real Muslims, they're not true Muslims, they don't represent Islam. This is not what Islam believes in. This is not what Islam calls for. Islam does not advocate this, and Islam does not approve of this. Muslims fall over each other trying to get to microphones to explain that to the world. We do that to disassociate ourselves from the renegade actions of individual criminals who perform atrocities in the name of our religion. Now, contrast that with the endless list of crimes committed by the United States. And you can go back as far as you want or as recently as you want. If you want to go as far as Nagasaki, Hiroshima, you can go there. If you want to go to slavery, you can go there. If you want to go to the genocide of the Native Americans, you can go there. And if you want to just talk more recently, you can talk about Iraq. You can talk about Afghanistan. You can talk about Syria. You can talk about Yemen. You can talk about drone attacks in Pakistan. You can talk about bombing the pharmaceutical factory in Sudan. It doesn't finish the atrocities committed by the United States. And that's just against us. Forget about talking about Latin America in the 1970s, 1980s, and now. Where's the remorse? Where's the apology? These aren't actions of renegade individuals. These are actions sanctioned by the government. These are actions performed by the government and sanctioned by the government and endlessly defended until now. Defended by the government and justified by the government, justified by the media, justified by pundits, justified by analysts, justified by think tanks. No one has apologized for any of these actions. They never apologize, and they don't feel any need to apologize. That's no conscience. There's no conscience there. There's no sense of guilt. There's no sense of humanity. There's no sense of responsibility and accountability, and no sense of grief for their actions. The closest they'll come is to say, yes, maybe Iraq was a mistake because there was no weapons of mass destruction after all. But the truth is, even if there were weapons of mass destruction, you didn't have a right to do what you did. Even if there were. Nations have a right to possess weapons of mass destruction. America possesses them. The UK possesses them. Everyone who was involved in the coalition against Iraq possesses weapons of mass destruction. So no, that's not why you were wrong. Just the fact that you didn't find weapons. That's not why you were wrong. Don't you feel bad about what you did? Why don't you have to explain to us that those actions don't represent your belief system? The same way that we have to explain to you when renegade criminals perform acts of terror, we have to explain to you that those actions do not represent our belief system. But you never have to explain to us, to assure us that violence and atrocities and war crimes, that's not what America stands for. That's not what the West stands for. That's not what democracy means. That's not what liberal values means. That's a misrepresentation. And you can't explain it that way because the representatives of liberal democracy, the representatives of the West, the representatives of America, they're the ones who are performing those actions. Those aren't the actions of renegade criminals. That's the actions of the government. And no one has apologized. And there's not even a feeling of the need to apologize. This is the difference between civilized people and savage people. This is the difference between a normal, healthy human being and a psychopath.